our dollar is so worthless that it's almost financially impossible for kids to move out of the house when they're 18. When it was possible 50 years ago, a lot of people started families when they were 18. My parents got married when they were 23 and started having kids right away and had their own house. No problem. Already done with college. And it's just so financially difficult to accomplish that now that we have like 28-year-olds, 29-year-olds, 30-year-olds even that still act like college kids or seniors in high school, because financially speaking, it's been like very difficult for them to just get to the point where they can even afford to get out of the basement, even if they're trying, I think. And I try not to make excuses to treat people as a culture as children when they aren't supposed to be, even though economically speaking, there's a lot of pressure for them to remain in a kind of childlike mindset.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's probably part of it. But even like the idea of moving out, especially a young couple moving out and getting their own home, is relatively new, because it used to be you'd have the family farm or the family plantation, and like you would have your own space, but you were all working together, and and you would have multiple generations on the same.
So you want to go back to plantations?
Honestly, a compound? Absolutely. I would do a compound with enough land.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want my kids on like in the same immediate space, but like I love that concept. And there's this idea that it was actually kind of it was propagandized by mortgage companies because they wanted more people buying houses. So they were like, oh, you're 18, dream. You need to be able to like get busy with your lady and not have mom and dad right there. Buy your own house. And then they started to kind of split up the family that way.
Interesting. I haven't ever heard of it like that. I'll have to look more into that.
There's this
Makes
book.
Sense.
It's called
Einstein's?
The myth, no, not
Einstein's Dream House?
the myth of normal. It's really good book. It's huge.
Who wrote it?
I don't remember her name.
I was a woman.
Here's the thing. Listen, I almost threw it away when I first started reading it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so woke and I don't want to waste my time. And then I was like, give it a chance. And I read it and it is not. It's like very factual, very historically accurate.
I'll take a look.
Yeah, I think you'll like it.
Right.
And
even
it
if it's written by
challenges
leftists, I'll still read it.
Yeah, I don't know
if it's good.
I don't know if she is or not.
Did you ever read any Yuval Noah Harari, like Sapiens or anything like that?
No, my husband has all those books. And then I'm so disappointed because it seemed like he was such a brilliant, like, grounded person. And then he kind of went off the hinges and he seems like a globalist now.
So did Sam Harris.
Oh, and then that's crazy because he was Mr. Consciousness, right? Like,
yeah, and then Destiny. They all go nuts eventually because leftism is a mental illness, and when it ultimately culminates in existential crisis.
So what is the difference between leftism, progressivism, and being a Democrat? Because you
they're
mentioned
they're all the same now.
Do you think so?
They didn't used to be, but yeah.
So when you say you're a liberal, to me, what I think
I don't say I'm a liberal.
No, a person. When
I was going to say, fuck you, lady.
This is over.
Why don't you go read some veterans?
When someone says that they're a liberal, what I think are liberal principles, like freedom of speech, like individual rights.
Well, that would technically be a classic liberal. A classical liberal is somebody who believes in that stuff.
And then wouldn't that
But it shifted. Classical liberalism shifted. Like the liberals aren't like that anymore. I mean, they obviously don't believe in freedom of speech if they're the party of censorship.
Correct.
They don't believe in private property rights if they're the party of taxation. They don't believe in freedom of religion if they're the party of abortion, right? Because there's a lot of people, regardless of what your feelings are on abortion, there are a lot of people that for religious reasons feel very uncomfortable paying for it via tax dollars to Planned Parenthood, right? And so you're forcing people to pay the taxes into a system that does something to the unborn that is against their religion, right? Regardless of how you feel, like that alone, they should be exempt from that tax at least, right? So
I didn't know that Planned Parenthood was funded by tax dollars.
I think it gets federal money. I'll have to double check.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the fact that you didn't know that is making me second guess it, but I would have been like 99% sure otherwise. So I'll have to double check. But yeah, I'm almost positive.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was initially created for the purpose of reducing the population growth in black communities.
Well, yeah, Margaret Singer, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I'll have to look more into it. I do believe they get tax dollars. I could be wrong about that.
That would not be okay.
Yeah.
You can't fund that. You can't have people forced to pay that. Have you seen, what's your take on IVF? There's the guy that's running, I don't even know his name. He's Kamala's VP.
Oh, Tim Walz?
Yeah, and
I'm just glad she chose a German instead of a Jew. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he had some clips going around, and he's trying to relate to the common person, which I think is hysterical, given that he allowed all of the everyday people to have their businesses
Burned down.
destroyed.
Yeah.
But now you're trying to be relatable.
Yeah.
But one of his talking points was on IVF, and he's said like, mind your own damn business. And he's trying to be all tough and say that that should be completely unrestricted. And then he was also talking about there's no guarantee on free speech when it comes to misinformation or hate speech, which you just gotta love.
I challenged him to a lawful duel under Texas Penal Code 2206. I want to fist fight Tim Walz if he's such a tough guy. I don't have a problem with IVF.
No.
I think depopulation is a huge crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm behind Elon Musk on this. I think the idea that we have a population problem, that we're growing too much, is totally anti-human, antithetical to success. We obviously have population decline going on. And so I understand that people have religious qualms with IVF.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to even get involved in that argument. I think if you want to have kids and you have to pay $50,000 to get it done, great. As long as you want to have kids and raise them in a healthy way, that's good. I think we need to be focusing on things that produce life rather than things that reduce it. I mean, the same reason I'm pro IVF is the same reason I'm kind of against abortion, is because I think we should be having more humans as much as possible, especially in America. More Native Americans. What do you think?
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
I get, I don't know.
If you were unable to have children, would you have done IVF?
Before having kids, yes. Because I was told I was infertile my whole life. Like I had some autoimmune issues and told there was a 0% chance.
Did you like go on the carnivore diet and it fixed it?
No, I did a lot of like other spiritual woo stuff though. Like I got a
like
shaman
black magic?
And not black magic, but I did get a shaman.
Did you do peyote in the desert?
I did do psychedelics, not peyote specifically, and I got
ayahuasca.
Psilocybin, and I got pregnant 2 weeks later.
No shit. I have a crazy psilocybin story too.
Do you?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed.
Why?
I don't know.
You should know this shit if you've done it. We should be tapped into the same plane.
Maybe, yeah. But that's probably why you're here.
I saw a symbol drawn on the wall, and I didn't know what it was, and I Googled it the next day, and it was a Zoroastrian symbol, a spirit guide.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a trip.
Yeah, so I don't think...
What did you see?
Oh my gosh. Oh, it gets crazy. The first time I did it, not a lot. I feel like it was more somatic, my experience. And
yeah,
then,
me too.
And then I did it again, and I think a certain level of surrender needs to happen for you to have access to different things. I saw these like little creatures.
Did they wear like the clown face?
No, they were definitely not good. They were really scaly. They kind of looked like a little dragony kind of, but they were like that big, and one had red eyes, one had yellow eyes.
You didn't like them?
I didn't like them. I knew they weren't good, and they kept trying to like what looked like a force field around me, like a whole bunch of hexagons in a pattern, like a bubble, and they
like a honeycomb shit.
Yeah, and they were trying to like pierce through, and I was like, if you're not of the light, you have to leave. Like, if you're of darkness, you gotta get out of here. And I had like a spiritual teacher tell me that. So he's like, if you see an entity of any kind, you always have to say that, because you never know if it's good or bad, and they can be very mischievous. So you have to like make it very clear that if you are not of light energy, goodness, to leave and like cast them out of your space. So I saw them, and then later I saw this. It looked like a tribal ancient language just written everywhere. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I can't read it. And my husband's like, well, because you said that, now you can't read it. But if you went into it and you're like, I can read it, you might have been able to understand what it was saying. But I refuse to believe that it's simply just a hallucination and there's no meaning to it, because it's like, why does everyone see the same fractals or the same geometric shapes or the same language that they can't these things repeat across people, time, space, culture.
What if it's really what if you translate it and it's literally just Joe Biden's inauguration speech?
I'm so disappointed.
Just Kamala,
it's just like information that's passing in the ether. That would be so disappointing.
It's like no enlightenment. It just sucks. We spent generations trying to crack this alien code, and all it gave me was Joe Biden's inauguration speech.
No, I think it's probably like ancient like I don't know, rules or truths or something. I don't know.
You definitely believe in the spirit world and like other entities and stuff?
Absolutely.
Do you identify as Christian?
No, I don't.